She was 7 months pregnant when her husband left, and the timing of it felt almost cruel, as if life itself had waited for her to be at her most vulnerable before testing her strength. He stood near the doorway with his jacket already on, eyes restless, words rehearsed. He said he needed something new, someone younger, someone who made him feel alive again, as if life were a party he was bored of attending. She didn't argue. There was no dramatic shouting, no plates breaking, no begging hands clutching at his sleeve. She simply sat on the edge of the bed, one hand resting on her swollen stomach, the other gripping the bedsheet like it was the last solid thing in a world starting to tilt. When the door closed behind him, the sound echoed longer than it should have, sinking into the walls, the floor, her bones. That night, she whispered to her unborn child in the dark, promising safety, promising love, promising that even if the world failed them, she wouldn't. The days that followed blurred into a quiet endurance. She worked every day, even when her feet swelled until her shoes felt like cages. Even when her back ached so deeply it stole her breath. She packed her own lunches, paid the bills alone, stood in grocery lines watching couples argue over cereal brands, wondering how something so ordinary could feel so distant. At home, the silence grew heavy. It filled the rooms that once carried laughter, inside jokes, shared dreams. Silence learned how to echo, how to remind her of what was missing with every ticking second. She learned to live inside that quiet, to move through it without breaking. Though some nights she cried so softly even the walls didn't hear her. Then one morning, without warning, the world shifted again. The pain, sharp and sudden, followed by panic. Then a hospital room that felt colder than winter no matter how many blankets they placed over her. The lights were too bright, the voices too gentle. Just like that, the baby was gone. No goodbye, Dot. No final heartbeat to memorize. Only emptiness where life had been growing. Grief settled into her like a second shadow, heavier than the first. She went home with arms meant to hold the future, now holding nothing. Days turned into months. Healing didn't arrive as relief, but as survival. She learned how to breathe through the ache, how to wake up and choose life even when it felt undeserved. And when he finally returned months later, not to stay, just to look, he expected to find her broken. Instead, he found something else entirely. He stood there like a stranger who had memorized the address but forgotten the soul of the place. The door opened, and for a brief second he hesitated, as if unsure whether he still belonged to the world behind it. She looked at him calmly, not with anger, not with tears, but with a stillness that unsettled him more than any scream ever could. Her eyes were different now. Not empty, Dot, not shattered. Sharper, deeper, like someone who had walked through fire and learned its language. The house looked the same, yet everything felt altered, as if grief had rearranged the air itself. He spoke awkwardly, offering words that sounded rehearsed, apologies that arrived too late to matter. She didn't interrupt him. She didn't ask why he left, why he chose escape over responsibility, why he abandoned a woman carrying his child. She had asked herself those questions 1,000 times already, and the answers no longer had power over her. Loss had taught her something brutal but freeing. Closure doesn't always come from explanations. Sometimes it comes from endurance. She told him she was fine, not as a lie, but as a fact shaped by months of surviving mornings she never wanted to wake up to. She told him she worked, she lived, she kept going. He glanced around the house, noticing the absence, the quiet, the space where a cradle should have been. Guilt flickered across his face, but it was thin, fragile, unable to undo anything. He realized then that she no longer needed him, not for comfort, not for validation, not even for answers. The pain had carved something solid inside her, something unshakable. When he finally left again, The door closing behind him didn't echo this time. Silence no longer frightened her. It rested gently, like a reminder of peace earned the hard way. She returned to her routines, her work, her quiet evenings. Some nights were still heavy. Some memories still hurt. Healing wasn't perfect or linear, but she carried her loss with dignity, not as a wound, but as proof of her strength. She learned that love could exist even without permanence, that hope could survive even after devastation. She learned that rising didn't mean forgetting, it meant continuing anyway. Somewhere deep inside, she still spoke to the child she never got to hold. Not with promises this time, but with gratitude for the strength their brief existence awakened in her. Life didn't give her the ending she imagined, but it gave her something else: resilience. And as she stepped into each new day, she did so not as a woman who had been abandoned, but as one who had been tested and remained standing.